Hello everyone. I've been doing environments lately if you've seen my latest video. So today we're going to go over one of the techniques I use to do my environment, and it's what you see here on the screen. It's so we are able to blend the landscape with the meshes we place around the world. This tutorial is relatively simple, and once you have it set up you can use it for any mesh you want. So to do this we're going to use Runtime Virtual Textures. The first thing you need to do is enable it within your project settings. If you search for virtual, this should be on. If it was off and you turn it on, it will probably ask you to restart the engine. Restart it and we can continue. The meshes I'm using for this tutorial, landscape, are the ones you find in this pack. So Landscape Pro 2 auto-generated material. This pack includes foliage, rocks, and I think some landscape materials that you might want to use. Once you have the virtual textures enabled and your meshes, we can start. So I created a folder, and basically we're going to be creating three things. Two of them are Runtime Virtual Textures. To create them, you simply right click, type virtual, and here are the options. Create two of them. One we're going to use to get the data such as color, normal, roughness, etc. from the landscape, and the other one is to get the height of the landscape. Once you have these two created, we're going to go into color, and the only change we're going to do here is increase the size of the tiles. I increased it to 10, which is a 1024 resolution. And within the height, we're going to do the same thing, and we also in virtual texture content, we need to put world height. Once that's done, you want to go to your level, and up here you want to search for virtual, and something like this will appear on your screen. With this selected, we want to go into Details panel. Here we want to select the virtual texture that we want. I already have selected, I'm just doing this as an example, but select the color first, and then we have to do the same thing with the height. We put it here. We select the landscape and we set bounds, and automatically the volume will adjust to the size of the landscape. Let me just delete this one. This is the height, and this is okay. Once you have the two volumes created, one with the height and one with the color, we can continue. And both volumes should cover the whole of your landscape. After this, we want to go into the landscape material. In my case, it's this one, where I've blended 3 layers. And normally you would simply plug the material attributes into the final node. But here we want to give all this information to the virtual textures. So basically, just type Runtime Virtual Texture output. We plug in our base color, the specular, the roughness, and the normal. The only difference with the normal is that we have to add a transform, this one, and we have to make sure it's from tangent space to world space, and then we can plug it in. We also need the world position, but only the blue channel, so the set value, into the world height, as shown here. Once this is done, sorry, let me delete this. Okay, once this is done, we can go back to our level, select the landscape, and if we scroll down, we will find this virtual texture options. We have to add 2 array elements, one with the color and one with the height. By simply click add element here. Now, actually before showing you how to blend the mesh, I wanted to show you something which I also find interesting. If we go back to our landscape material, you'll see that I am using Runtime Virtual Textures for the actual landscape. I'm going to show you the difference. If I were to connect this how it would be normally, sorry, specular, roughness, and normal. Okay, and now we go to show, optimization view modes, shader complexity. As you can see, we have quite a dark brown, and in some places, especially when there's blend between 2 layers, we have sort of a red color. And we go back to lit, and then we use the ones from the virtual textures. We should see a difference. By the way, when connecting the normal back here, if here we did tangent space to world space, which you can see here, here we do the opposite. We do world space to tangent space, and I multiply it by 2 simply because I want the normal to be stronger. We apply, go back to our level, and go to optimization view modes, shader complexity. As you can see, we no longer have the red zones, and it's a lighter brown. So it's actually better like this. Okay. So now we have our color, height. We've already incorporated this information here in our landscape material. What we need to create now is a function that we will use in any mesh that we want to blend with the landscape. So to create a material function, we simply type here material function, click here. I named it RVT function. What we are doing here basically is this input will give the material attributes of the mesh. And here we have the information from the landscape, and we will blend these 2 attributes to obtain this effect, where part of the material from the landscape actually goes on top of the mesh. We'll also be creating 3 parameters to control the blend fall off, hardness, and side remover. We will go over these options once I open the material instance. So basically what we want to do here, actually sorry, I forgot something. Runtime Virtual Texture Sample, make sure you select color here. Otherwise it won't work. And same thing here, we get the Runtime Virtual Texture Sample, we select the color, Runtime Virtual Texture Sample, and here we simply select the one we want. And we do the same thing as before. Base color, actually we type set material attributes, and within set material attributes we want 4 elements: base color, specular, roughness, and normal. And you should get something like this. Then it's just a matter of joining the pins. Remember that the normal goes now from world space to tangent space, and I multiply it by 2, but this is completely optional. And from here we're gonna blend material attributes. So it will blend between A, the landscape material, and B, the mesh materials. To get this input, you simply type input, and here in input type we want to select input material attributes and name this whatever you want. I simply named it material attributes, like so, and plug this into B. So now we have the information from the landscape, the information from the mesh, and we need the alpha. And for the alpha, we're going to use the absolute world position, and we're going to need another runtime virtual texture sample. But this time here, we're going to select the height, as you can see. And the only thing we need from here is the world height. We're going to do a series of calculations. We're going to subtract. We get the object bounds, mask B, and add it to the subtract of these two. And here's where we will put our first parameter, blend fall off. We'll multiply this by the mask and then subtract it from the addition we did here. We're going to divide by another parameter, which will be the blend hardness. Saturate, and then invert this and multiply by this calculation will allow us to remove the blend from really steep angles. Let me show you an example. As you can see here, it's a really steep angle, and what it does is stretch the texture too much. So with these parameters, we'll also be able to control that. I'm gonna leave the calculations just on the screen for a second so you can copy them if you want. And then once you've done this, you simply connect this to the alpha and finally to the output. Once we have our function, we need to get the mesh that we want to blend and find the master material for it. Which I think, I already had it open. So this is my instance and this is the master material. I'm going to do it from the beginning just in case you've never done it before. If I click here and then I look for the parent material, and what we've done is we've simply grabbed our function, dragged it into the material, and here just before we put all the attributes, we're going to plug it into our material. I also added a switch parameter so that we can toggle if we want the mesh to blend with the landscape or not. By default, this value will be true, so we will use the function and it will blend with the landscape. Once you've done this to the master material, you should be able to go back, open your instance, let's look for the here. Let me put this to 0 so you see the effect better. With the blend fall off, we're basically determining the height at which the blend is happening. As you can see, if I increase, the blend is higher. If I decrease, the blend is lower. By default, I like a value of 1. And then this, if I put it, let's say here, we can increase the fall off of the blend to make it seem more natural. And then if I were to put this back to 0 and this, let's leave it like that, and as you can see there's nothing on these walls. If I were to decrease this or increase it, actually, if we increase it, we put the material on really harsh slopes. If we decrease it, we eliminate it completely. So let's put this at 0 and increase. Actually, no, we need a value here. And as you can see, the blend is only applied to flat surfaces, more or less. So with these numbers, you can play around until you get the desired effect. I find that a value of 1, then 35 and 2 gets the job done. And this is more or less done. So if you enable virtual textures, you might get this pop up: Resizing virtual texture pools. To get rid of this message, go to project settings. And as you can see, if you simply type pools, you'll enter these options and you'll have a transient pool generated with a size in megabyte. Just make sure that actually we're going to create a fixed pool, so this is not constantly generating. We're going to make it of the same type of this one, which is pfdxt5. So just make sure everything matches. And here we're just going to put 300 just in case. And now if we were to delete the transient pools and go back here and do the same, that error should be fixed. Just make sure that these numbers are equal or larger than the ones created in the transient pools. And that's about it. Once you have your function, you can add it to different meshes. As you can see here, I have another rock, and this time it's the grass that's blending in with the rock. I hope you find the video useful, that you liked it, and if you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next one.